Board of Ed meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servnick. Here. Ms. Weinstein.
Here.
Mr. Potts.
Here.
Mr. Kelleher.
Here.
Mrs. Atkinson.
Here.
Mr. Merkin. Here. Mrs. Munger. Mr. Mott.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming out. It's nice to see so many faces here. My report is short. Many members attended the Ocean County School Board's dinner on September 25th. The topic was policies to ensure appropriate spectator behavior at events, so our policy committee will be working on that when Strauss Esme comes out with some guidelines. Attendance was great at the back to school nights. It was nice to see so many people out there in all of the groups, the CPAC, PTA, etc., with tables to encourage people to join. Conferences are taking place next week. If you did not sign up, make sure you reach out to your child's teachers to see if they could fit you in. This is a great opportunity for you to sit down and discuss your child one-on-one. Next week, many board members will be getting our yearly training at the school board's convention, and we're looking forward to that. And I leave you with a quote in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I'm a fighter, I'm a survivor, and I'll get through anything people can throw at me. John Daly. Thank you. Okay. Mrs. Pedroza.
Good evening, everybody. So this evening you'll see that we changed a little bit on the board agenda. I actually asked if we could move up our student government representatives to speak first in our liaison from the base. So we'll be doing that before the student recognition portion of our assembly, this program tonight. I also wanted to let you know that there are two presentations on the agenda. One will be conducted by Mrs. Raimondo in the curriculum department. She will be giving a synopsis of the test results, and then one will be given by Mr. George, which is the HIP self-assessment. You'll also see some retirements on the agenda this evening. I'd like to wish all the best to the following staff members. Monica DeFalco, she was with us for 11 years. Congratulations and best wishes to her. John McCarthy, he is our mail carrier. Many of you know him as Mr. John. He has been with us for a total of 8 years, and he will be retiring in January. And Mark Gardner retired as well, 5 years in the district. So congratulations to those staff members. In Manchester, we celebrate our team members and thank them for their dedication and their contributions to our students and our school. The beginning of the month, we celebrated and recognized School Custodian Day. Thank you so much to our custodial staff. I think we have some of the finest and cleanest buildings around, and I would just like to say to them they are invaluable and we are very appreciative of them. We also recognize in October National Principals Month. Thank you for all you do to support our students, our staff. Your leadership is extremely valuable and we appreciate you. So congratulations and thank you to those two groups. As superintendent, I am incredibly proud of the strong relationship that the district shares with the Joint Base. Our partnership has enriched the lives of our students and our families, and we thank you. One shining example is our Green Buddy program, where service member volunteers support literacy efforts in our schools. This program not only helps our young learners develop a love of reading, but it also strengthens our bonds with the community. And I thank you for helping us to coordinate that. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month this particular month, we're reminded of the rich diversity that enhances our schools. And this month, our focus was on Hispanic heritage and the readings, and many of the partners that came were of the Hispanic ethnicity. So thank you so much for that, and we are very, very grateful to the base for that support. In addition to that, I do want to thank Ms. Tefal and Ms. Zakia. In June, I believe, the board allowed us to participate in the application for what's called PCAST. It's person-centered approaches in school and transition. And Ms. Tefal was just notified that we actually received that award, which will mean that we will get training for our staff and for our administrators to work in a partnership with Rutgers It is a DOE-funded program, and that partnership will allow us to have transition planning, in-person centered approaches in our schools. Overall, it will allow us to be more effective and meaningful support for our students with disabilities, fostering their success and their actual independence. So thank you so much, and thank you to the board for allowing us to put in for that particular partnership. Other than that, I'm going to ask everybody to mark your calendars. I don't think that there's been a lot of publicity on this event, but it is always well attended. So Trick or Trunk, thank you to the Municipal Alliance. It will be this Sunday, October 20th at the Manchester High School. It'll be at 7 p.m. There are going to be a lot of treats there. There will be a lot of decorated cars as well. I am going to try to decorate my car with the board office help, right, Mrs. Raimondo? Our theme will be Candyland. I'm an 80s girl, so we're going to go back to the 80s. So I hope you can visit us that evening. I hope you'll be there, Chris. I hope to see you there. And then the last thing I'm just going to remind you of is that Veterans Day is approaching. For over 20 years, Manchester Township High School has welcomed local veterans in the community for its annual recognition program. This year's event will be at 2:45 on November 11th. It will be the 20th annual. So we are inviting all community. If you're a veteran, we hope you can be there. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back to Mrs. Mount.
Thank you. We'd like to hear a report from our military ambassador, please.
For us, there's not much this month. First off, I just want to thank the district for all your support for both the military-connected children that are in the district, as well as opening the doors to let our military folks go in and read. It really enriches them as well as your students. Thanks for your support.
It's our pleasure. Thank you. Jaden is our representative from student government. Can you give your report, please?
Yes. Here today to provide you with important information regarding things that have happened in the high school since our last meeting. So let's start with things that we had happen. We had our club rush September 16th through the 20th. Basically, it was a rush where all the student-created clubs / staff-advised clubs could promote their clubs right in front of the lunchroom, and it was a great opportunity for clubs to gain traction and clubs to gain popularity. So that was a really good thing we had. We had freshman class elections end of September. Congratulations to new cabinet members. We had our fall spirit week. I have the themes written down. It was the 23rd to the 27th. Day 1 was students as teachers and teachers as students. Day 2 was twin day. Day 3 was wear pink. Day 4 was jersey day, and day 5 was class colors. We had our homecoming game September 27th, which we won. Homecoming dance, juniors hosted that, and the theme was Starry Night. It was September 28th. It was a success, really fun, loved it. We had we have a cornhole tournament. We had our cornhole tournament. Sorry. It was a great turnout. There were 16 teams. It was a mix of students and community members. It was a great time. We raised $500, 200 of which is going to go towards the winners, and we're going to be dispersing the prizes soon. We also raised $250 from Buffalo Wild Wings. Great. Future events, we're going to be having hopefully a Applebee's fundraiser right after fall break. As Ms. Pedroso said, Trick or Trunk is October 20th, so it's very fun, guys. You should go. Christmas in the Pines is December 7th, and SGA will be using this as a fundraising opportunity, as well as the Winter Vendor Fair, December 8th. That's pretty much it. Thank you for everything, and thank you for letting me be here. That's it.
Thank you for your report. Good job.
We're going to begin with MTES, and I believe this young man is here this evening. Am I correct? Is Elijah here? No, Mrs. Healy? Okay, I'm going to read it anyway, and if you would like to accept this award, I would appreciate that. So Elijah is a first grader, and he is a kind and well-mannered young man who is not only hardworking in school, but also a role model to those around him. During recess, he's always looking out for his friends and other students' safety. He's always willing to take another student to the nurse without hesitation. And most importantly, he shows kindness, which is fantastic. So congratulations to Elijah. Our next two students are from Ridgeway School, and I'd like to invite up Abigail and Edward. Abigail. So Abigail is a kindergartner at Ridgeway School. She's always participating in group discussions and activities. She has a wealth of knowledge that drives our discussions outside the box. Whenever a student needs help, she's always there, and she's an amazing young lady. So congratulations to Abigail. Another remarkable student is Edgar, and he's a fifth grader who is at Ridgeway Elementary School. His qualities are a great student leader, and recently he was selected and demonstrated exceptional leadership and a commitment to responsibility. He helps his peers, he helps his teachers, and he inspires those around him. So thank you for being a role model, and congratulations, Edgar. Our next group of students come from Whiting Elementary School, and these are our bus safeties. I believe we have our bus safeties here. I'll make sure it's Easton, Emily, Joseph, Ava, Addie, Josh, Riley, Evie, Billy, and Daniel. Did I forget anybody? Good, I got it. Okay, that's good. So our bus safeties are student leaders in the area of transportation. They assist our kindergarten students with safely getting off the bus, at arrival, and on the bus for departure. They help model and teach other students about bus safety. Their assistance aids our bus drivers in safely transporting students to and from school. And this is a wonderful volunteer leadership position, and they are certainly role models in their school. We thank you. Mrs. Boyle, our transportation director, actually thanks you. And Mrs. Swift, outstanding young men and women. So congratulations and thank you.
Guys, right there, ready? Makes sense. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Good job.
Thank you so much. Okay, this next handsome young man makes me smile, and he will make you smile too. Chris is coming up. He is a student at Regional Day School, and he is always making sure his teachers and friends are okay and have everything they need. How many of you know Chris? He's a personality, let me tell you. He's a gentleman, he's a singer, he's always holding the door for everyone. He brightens up everybody's day with his amazing singing and his hilarious jokes. Chris has made significant improvements with his behavior in school. He continues to be flexible in the classroom. And Chris, you are such a smart young man. So congratulations, Chris. What do you And this is the night of singers. Do we have Daphne here? Okay. Hi, Daphne. Come on up. Daphne represents the middle school, and Daphne is a talented, hardworking 7th grader who is a member of the drama club also recently performed in the amateur night at the Apollo Theater in New York City and placed first. And we also don't want to forget our student athletes, and I think I saw Caleb and Madison. Are they here? Congratulations. They represent MTS as our student athletes for the month of October. Caleb and Madison are both great representation of what it means to be a student athlete. They're both 8th grade leaders of our cross-country team. They work just as hard in the classroom as they do in the athletic arena, and they are excellent examples of both what it means to be a student athlete. So congratulations and thank you. Our next students are representing the high school, and they are Mauricio. Is she here? Didn't see her. Bella. Samantha. Mateo. Kiara, and Sarah here. I also want to say we have singers in this room too, am I right? So we'd like to recognize the students who volunteer their time in order to serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in our community. A big thank you to these students. They are truly what volunteerism and service is all about. They are talented, they are dedicated, they are extremely well versed in terms of working with these students. They're patient, and we appreciate that because that is so important. So thank you to all of them. And next, I'd like to welcome up our student athletes from the high school. We have Emma and Noah. So Emma has helped lead our team to the 8-5 record qualifying for the short conference tournament in an early season upset over number 3 Wall Township. With 5 goals and... Am I going, Mr. Lister?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm talking to Emma.
It's with 5 goals and a team-leading 9 assists, she is a playmaker who has become the backbone of our team at center midfield. And so congratulations to you, Emma. Our senior goal for Noah has been keeping the Hawks in every game on the way to a 7-6 record. He has 90 saves, 8th in the conference, and has had 4 shutouts on the season. Emma and Noah represent us well on and off the field by modeling a strong academic and athletic work ethic, deserving good sportsmanship, and thank you for being such solid players and athletes. I'm going to go back because I was advised that our young gentleman from MTS is here. So if you don't mind, bear with me for a minute. Here we go. Hi, Elijah. First grader, and being recognized for multiple things. I think it's just a testament to our partnership here and the impact that we have on our community. So thank you so much. Thank you to the families for supporting. Thank you for all the staff, and congratulations to all our recipients. And invite out Mr. Rolando at this time.
Singing tonight. Save that for a different day.
That's fun.
So I'd like to thank the board for letting us present tonight. The information was shared previously, and for those in the audience, the full presentation is linked on the agenda and will be placed on the website if people want to really dig into the data. So this presentation will cover the 2024 NJSLA, the access testing, which is what our ESL students need to take, and also the DLM. We will also be including some information about the fall NJSLA, which was taken at the high school. Those results were already presented, as well as the NJ GPA results, but it's important to see the information in connection with each other. So, we all know our real goal in education is to help develop a love of learning, but it would be naive to say that testing does not matter at all. And so it is important for us to look at our testing results so we can notice trends, curriculum, areas of success, and also areas where we need to put some focus moving forward. So, just a little highlight of what we're going to be talking about. So, students in grades 3 through 9 took the NJSLA in English. Students in grades 3 through 8 took the NJSLA in math. And then in the high school, it's course-based, not grade-based. And so those students took the test in Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. One thing to note, because it's very hard to compare year to year, is that the state sometimes changes who has to take the tests in high school. So the previous year, only 9th graders took the math assessments. Last year, students in all grades took the math assessment. So it's just interesting when you're comparing, you're not really comparing apples to apples in the high school. We will also be talking about the access test. That was also previously presented to the Board of Education, and there is a link within this presentation to the old presentation. And then also the DLM, which stands for the Dynamic Learning Maps, which is something that students with intellectual disabilities who cannot take the NJSLA want to do. So we all know that we have to look at data carefully. This is a 1-day or 3-day test, depending on which test you're talking about. And also some of the things we used to use for comparison are no longer there. So they don't have DFGs anymore that would compare similar socioeconomic schools. And at one point they were giving us peer schools, schools that were similar to you. All that went away, so really all you have to compare yourself against is the state average, which is something we will talk about. And then also just as we begin to unpack, we're going to have to look closely at things like demographics, subgroups, as well as our overall picture by the grade levels. So we're going to jump right to the important part, which what do we get out of all of this data? What are we seeing as our trends? So the first, we're going to talk about some notable achievements. So here are some areas where we're seeing some growth and some positive things. So 9th grade ELA showed an 8% increase in the number of students who are meeting or exceeding. 6th grade ELA showed a 5.5% increase. District-wide, our science increase. Students in the middle school who have 504s showed a 17% increase in meeting or exceeding in ELA. And our middle school Algebra 1, which is the honors students at the middle school, showed a 21.4% increase in students meeting or exceeding expectations. In the NJGPA, some of the highlights, first 79% of students are meeting or exceeding in ELA. And also I think it's important to look at that one from just in 2 years how far the scores have changed. So in ELA in 2022 we had 29% meeting or exceeding, and now in 2024 we had 79%. Math, while the gains were not as giant, are still significant, going from 37% to 49%, particularly because the state average is only 55 in math. So those are definitely some highlights of some progress. Hold on, my pages. All right, so achievements in programming and instruction. What are the things we're doing well that are hopefully tying into these results? We have a continued focus on foundational literacy, including foundations and just words. Training for high school teachers in integrating a workshop model in ELA, high school and middle school. Huge focus on vocabulary across all disciplines, including word walls and tiered vocabulary. Tier 2 vocabulary are words that are your academic words used in every discipline. Continued implementation of our tiered system of support. And I actually think that played a huge role in middle school. Last year, I know Ms. Sickle was very involved in the tiered system of supports, and I think that improved our 504 scores a little bit by having those interventions. Focus on data to drive instruction, and really keeping data in the forefront. We have a district assessment committee, but also each building has an assessment committee, and data is also talked about in grade level meetings, department meetings, and all sorts of building meetings as well. And then what has been some of our professional development, sheltered instruction, which is the SIOP model, where that is for how do we help our ML students, and as we know, our numbers have increased significantly. We went from about 98 students tested the year before to over 200 students tested last year, so we've more than doubled that number. The readers, writers workshop model, foundations, DBQs, which are used in social studies for using multiple documents for creating essays and using text-based arguments, and open site and link it, or some of the PD we have had. And this is the slide that's less fun to talk about, which is our areas of growth, but it is important to be introspective. So math across the district is still something we need to focus on. All of the levels except middle school algebra and actually high school algebra saw a decrease in the number of students who met or exceeded. And to be honest, if we're being fair, high school did not have a huge increase and is still behind the state average, so it's still a focus area. Our science scores are improving, but they're still not at the state average. But if you look, I think this is important, the state averages are not where the state wants the averages to be anyway. So in grade 5, we have 19.9, but the state's only at 27.6. So that is a focus area for this year. Elementary ELA did see a slight decrease overall in students meeting or exceeding. And writing across the content areas does need to be a focus area moving forward. And in both math and ELA, we do have to look at subgroups. Two of our subgroups where we need some focus. Excuse me. Multilingual learners and special ed are two areas we have identified. So then what are we going to be doing about these things? And that is our strategies moving forward. And some of them are our same strategies, just continued and enhancing, and some are some new things we need to look at. So a district-wide focus on targeted small group instruction, that is a goal in every building in the district, as well as goals for the administrators as well, for things we want to focus on. It was brought up at our district assessment committee, and each building is focusing on that. Continued focus on intervention practices and the tiered system of supports. Continue to give school teams opportunities to analyze data, but also coaching teachers on how to use data. And that's that second piece, because you can't really have small group instruction without knowing how to get those small groups to really be targeted. Differentiation and identifying achievement gaps. And that's where curriculum comes into, is the issue that we need more support in how to implement the curriculum, or does the curriculum have a gap? Analyzing the evidence statements that's already been happening in building meetings, looking at which skills we've missed, and also analyzing our LinkedIn benchmark data. And so next steps, one of the things I want to talk about is the foundational reading and writing. Michelle, I'm going to have you come talk about this piece, because that is a state focus for this year.
Yeah, one of the big focuses we have in the elementary school is focusing on foundational reading and writing skills. As you know, you approved brand new curriculum that we had to re-adopt for the brand new 2023 standards for ELA. Within those standards, there's a big focus on foundational reading and writing skills, because what the research has shown us is that if we don't teach our students explicit phonics, word attack, and word study skills, they will not be able to attack those higher level comprehension skills. So we're putting a lot of emphasis in our primary grades in making sure that our students are getting really targeted, explicit instruction to learn the rules of reading. Our brain is not automatically designed to know how to read. We actually have to teach our brain how to read. And for some children, it comes easier than others. So we're really working on looking at data, analyzing where certain students are having struggles in their skills, and then training our teachers on how to provide small group instruction that's really targeted to skill, not just necessarily level. So we're working on that. We have a lot of programs in place, and this was K through 5. This used to be a K through 2-ish, 3 initiative, but now the standards go all the way through 5th grade. So our teachers are going to get more resources in grammar instruction, prefixes, suffixes, breaking apart words, morphology, things that used to be more in the primary grades. But the state and the country has really realized this need. And also, when you look at this data, you have to remember that those 3rd graders were COVID kids in kindergarten. So those were the kids that went out in March. And in 1st grade, they were learning in a hybrid model. So we still are trying to catch up from the learning loss that those kids may have experienced. So we're doing everything we can to target our instruction, use the data, and really give them a skill-based instruction in the elementary schools. Thank you.
So one other big area that we know needs to be a focus is science. And so I'm going to have Mrs. Palmieri talk to you a little bit about Open Science and what it is, and how we're trying to explore that, particularly at the middle school where it's more fleshed out at the state level, and how that will hopefully help our students become more conceptual thinkers in science instead of just memorize, spit the information back out.
Hi. So the Open Science platform is an inquiry-based platform that we are currently using. And so what that really means is that our teachers are presenting a phenomenon, an idea that is getting the students to think about what is going on. It might be a video, it might be an article, and they're trying to make sense of the world around them before the teacher actually incorporates in an activity that they're learning from. And so what we're doing this year is that we're going to be taking up Jackson and bringing some teachers from middle school out to Jackson to see this in place in both regular and special ed classrooms. And then we're going to look at our planning and piecing guide and start looking at the curriculum and making sure it's all aligned so we can tightly make that connection for the MTSD standards.
So a few other things in terms of professional development that we've been exploring. So as I mentioned, the sheltered instruction. By the end of this year, 100% of our teachers should be sheltered instruction trained. As long as they start with this at the beginning. If they come in June, I can't guarantee that. at the end of last year. So by the end of this year, that's something that everyone should be trained in. And that is important because, as we mentioned, our ML numbers are growing exponentially and very quickly. And so we just have to make sure we are prepared to support our students and make those situations better. And then the other thing I did want to mention is that we are bringing in some training in math. So we have Dennis Sheeran coming, who is one of the experts in the state on math instruction. We've had him before, but we are bringing him back to hit at a few different levels to just try to keep bolstering that. When we look at the NJGPA, we do see gains in math, but math doesn't change as quickly as ELA. And that, you know, as an ELA person, I don't want to throw us under the bus that it's a little easier in ELA, but those skills spiral. And so you can kind of pick them up and catch them up a little bit later. But math, it takes a little longer to make those changes. And so we just have to keep reinforcing that. And then the other area that we had mentioned being in need was special ed. And that is something that I have already been collaborating with Mrs. Moore. We've sat down a few times because we feel like it's very important for our departments to work together on that situation to really try to address that. So we've been exploring some possibilities. We're bringing in some training in math UC in the elementary schools, which is just a little bit of a different way to teach math in like your LLD level classes to maybe teach those students a little bit better. But we are exploring some options, but as I said, math does take a little bit longer to see the gains sometimes. So that is what we have for you. This is resources that are linked, so anyone in the audience that wants to see this presentation at home, there are some links there to the state information. And also just thank you to the board again for all your support. All of these things that I'm mentioning that we're putting in place cost money and capital of human time, you know, for subs and things like that. So we do appreciate your support because I think we all have the same goal. We want to move the students along, but we got to work together to do that. So we do support, you know, we do appreciate all of your support. And if you guys have any questions, we could try to deal with it.
Thank you. Excellent. Mr. George, can you do your presentation, please?
Evening, everybody. So tonight I'm here to take us through the self-assessment for the HIP self-assessment. So just to refresh your memory, this is a process that we go through every year. And each of the building school safety teams does a self-assessment at the end of the school year. And then we come back in September, we look at the assessment, talk about some things we want to focus on this year, and then we just recently submitted our assessments to the state. So that's the process that we do it in. So what they ask us to do is look at 8 core elements. There's 26 indicators in each of those areas, and we're scoring ourselves from a 0 to a 3. So if you got a 52 or 66% across the category, you're meeting the expectations of the state. And we also, in addition to this, twice a year, we're reporting all the trainings and the programs and the things that we're doing in all the buildings. So when we look at the core elements, they really ask us questions like, you know, what are we doing in these areas? So the first one is our HIP programs, approaches, and initiatives. And here they're asking, have schools established, implemented, and assessed programs? Are they designed to prevent and address HIP? Has the school safety team looked for patterns and reviewed school climate policies? Across our district here, we had a 14.33 out of 15, or 95% of the buildings felt like we were, you know, passing the expectations in this area. And to give you an idea, we were at a meeting recently, and we're looking at some situations that are happening in the building, and one of the buildings is noticing, you know what, our buses continue to be unstructured time is tough, right? You'll see that the elementaries have done the school safeties, they're putting in programs to address some of those things that they're seeing, and that's kind of what the school safety team in the building is brought together to do. Core element 2 is training on the Board of Education approved HIP policy and the procedures. Was training provided? Did it include training on the protected categories? And was it discussed with students? Obviously, at the beginning of the year, we have assemblies with all the kids talking about expectations, what kind of behavior, you know, what do we want our buildings to look like and sound like and be like. So that's always an important time there. Last year, we gave ourselves a 7.67 or 85%. So again, we're exceeding the expectations in that area. Core element number 3 is other staff instruction and training programs. Has each staff member received 2 hours of training on hip prevention? Does the training include suicide prevention? Does the school safety team get PD to support the programs? Sometimes these can be areas that are more difficult to provide to get the whole team out of the building for training in different areas, but each building goes through. So here we gave ourselves across the district a 12.83 or 85%. Core element 4 talks about the curriculum and instruction on HIB and other related information and skills. Here we gave ourselves an 89%. Are we providing age-appropriate instruction? Are we observing the week of respect, which was just last week? Lots of stuff going on in all the buildings in terms of spirit events and different things to just kind of highlight, all the things that we want to highlight in regards to how we want the mutual respect we want to see in our buildings. Core element number 5 is HIB personnel. Does each school have an anti-bullying specialist and a school safety team? Do they meet twice a year at the school at district level? There we're giving ourselves a 90%. We have 2 anti-bullying specialists at least in each building, and oftentimes we have more people than that trained if we need to utilize their services. And so those are things that, and we meet also as a building schools district team as well, twice a year. Core element 6 is school level HIB incident reporting. There we're giving ourselves 97. Do we implement the procedures? It's one of the nice things that Hipsters kind of brought to the district. Now, if parents or students have concerns, they can report those incidents right online. It can be done anonymously. We take all those situations very seriously and we investigate it. So that was something that we initiated 2 years ago that helps us to exceed the expectations in that area. In core element number 7, the investigation procedures. Do we follow the policy notifying parents, completing the investigation, and preparing a report for the superintendent? Again, HIPSTER really gives us a place where we can task by task go through that process, make sure we're meeting all the deadlines that we need to be meeting, and that gets reflected in that 100% score from that perspective. And then our district, our HIB reporting, 95%. Is there a procedure for staff reporting HIB, and are we posting the grades on the school and district website? So once these things get put up into the state website, we also post on our website. We have a whole section for parents on HIB where they can find these presentations. And so, so we gave ourselves a 94.5 across there. So we're at 92.1 going across again. So we feel very good about the programs and the things we're doing. Each year is always unique. So it's hard to say based on last year what we're going to focus on this year, but it certainly gives us some things to talk about and some areas to look at. And this just gives you the breakout by each school in regards to those scores. And just a lot of credit to all of our building school safety teams. They spend a lot of time talking through a lot of things. It's always a great time to bring people together and look at what things went well, what are some things we want to try to do a little bit more of next year, and that's always a good process to go through. And when you look at just some of the key findings, I mean, again, we're exceeding the expectations. We feel good about the work we do, and this just kind of shows that, where some of our stronger areas are, 100% on core indicator 7 and 97% on core indicator 6. And you're not going to find, we didn't find that there were any weak areas, but that doesn't mean that there's not things that we want to, take a look at, whether we're talking to kids about certain areas, going over again the idea of what is harassment, intimidation, bullying, what's the difference between conflict and bullying, and how can we help handle it? Yeah.
So my question kind of ties into that. So looking at core indicator number 1, it's 95.5.
Right.
Do we know why it's not 96 or why it's not 97?
Because the rubric, so to speak, is about a 75-page document, and oftentimes it's, for example, do we have certification that every person that comes into our building, and when I mean every person, I mean anybody who comes in to work on equipment in the kitchen has been, trained on all of the core indicators. And we always go from the perspective of, if we don't have the hard evidence, if I don't have the certificate, then we're not going to say we're exceeding ourselves.
So we can self-evaluate.
It's all self-evaluated. Yeah.
Not as far as saying, okay, hey, we need to do better here, so next year we can get a 96 instead of a 95.
Correct. And oftentimes it's, the team will say a lot, or I know we're doing this, but I don't have, well, if we don't have proof of it, then we're gonna make sure we get proof next year, moving forward. And again, our head personnel, those are all things that, the board has made a real, a focus area, so we have more than enough people trained to go through those procedures, and, those are just, good things to have. Anybody have any questions? Again, it is a community-wide effort, and it's always good to see some of the new programs and seeing the new safeties in the buildings with their sashes on, and so proud of what they're doing in the buildings. But when you see those guys out on the bus platform, helping all the elementary kids get on the bus, you hope that those are the kinds of things that can move the needle in those areas, and so it's always great to see those kinds of things. Thank you.
Do you have a report for us?
Yeah, just two quick things. We have a few transportation items on the agenda tonight. Two are requests to use our buses, one from the township and one from the police department. In cases like this, they are responsible for full costs of operation, insurance, all that stuff. We're just providing them the buses for an event. We're also disposing 3 school buses on the agenda tonight. These are school buses that can no longer transport students. So we will be putting them up for sale on gov deals. If the buses don't sell, we'll likely scrap them. On October 15th, we did our upload for the application for state school aid. This is the application that determines what our state aid is for next school year, 25-26. Preliminary numbers look favorable. We've seen some big shifts in what I would call the higher weighted areas of the formula. MLL, free reduced lunch, special ed. The only issue is the preliminary information we're getting now is state aid is a very big uncertainty for the upcoming year. What we're being told from the DOE right now is flat would be a best case scenario. Now, I'm not 100% sure how that could be because they are supposed to be funding based on enrollment. That's what they've been doing. That was the whole point. So, right now we're just going to wait and see. But we will, like we do every year, we plan essentially 2 budgets. We plan one at flat state aid, and we plan one, well, really 3, but we plan one at flat, we plan one with a potential cut and one with a potential increase. And that's what we'll do again this year. And if any new information becomes available, we'll let you know.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to invite any residents to come to the microphone to ask questions or speak about agenda items only. Are there any board member reports? Is there any old business or correspondence?
No old business, no correspondence.
Okay, we're going to move to the agenda, section 1, new business, numbers 1 through 4. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant.
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein.
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher.
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Merkin.
Yes.
Mrs. Wingler.
Yes.
Ms. Young.
Yes. Sections B through D, can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm sorry, who was the second? I didn't catch it. Is it
Laura.
Laura?
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant.
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein.
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher.
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Merkin.
Yes.
Mrs. Wingler.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes. Section 2, A administrative, number 1, can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Just like to thank everybody for all their generous donations to our students of Manchester Township. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant.
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein.
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher.
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson.
Yes.
Mr. Merkin.
Yes.
Mrs. Wingler.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes. B personnel, numbers 1 to 43, can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? I'd just like to congratulate all those retiring, and I wish you the best as you move forward. Thank you for your service here. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Servant.
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein.
Yes.
Mr. Koss.
I'll abstain from 36 and yes to everything else.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin? Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. A, student personnel, number 1. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Paz?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. B, special services, numbers 1 and 2. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? I have a question. So when we have a lot of out-of-district placements, have we had any success in our 30-day evaluations when a kid is sent out of district or comes to us in an out-of-district placement from a new school? Have we been able to bring anybody back?
I'll have Jill kind of answer.
Sorry, I was in school today. We have been looking at them, and it's just a matter of speaking with parents and making those decisions as to what's best for the student and what we can handle within the school. This particular one has been in the works for about 6 months. It's been hard to find placements for some students right now. There's a lot of difficult to get the out-of-district placements to accept kids. So
Are we looking to create any new programs in-house?
we're going to look at that over the course of the year. I don't want to rush into anything, but I think we need to look at what we have and see what coverage would be best for.
Any other discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Paz? Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin? Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Ms. Mack?
Yes. Section 3, finance, numbers 1 through 5. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Servant?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mr. Paz?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mrs. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Merkin?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. At this time, we'd like to invite the public to come forward if they have any comments. Just please state your name and your address. at the microphone.
Here, doesn't matter. Here.
There's fine.
Yes, Frank Cavallo. I enjoyed back to school night, high school, I mean, daughter. I just have a question about I was over at gym floor, doors were padlocked shut, and she can't do her, I guess, yoga and some other things going on there. The ETA, how long that's going to get on?
No, I don't have an ETA, but what we did have water damage in that gym.
Okay.
We did have some water damage, so it did warp the floor a little bit.
Do we know where the damage came from?
Right now, we believe, this was when we had, this was weeks ago, but we had a bunch of rain, and we actually believe it came up from underground. It wasn't anything, it didn't come in from the roof or the walls or anything like that. So we're just in the process of waiting to get that done. I do know our facilities guy has contracted a vendor. They've come out and taken a look at it. It's just a matter now of them coming out and doing the work.
Are we going to address the drainage issues then?
We've been dealing with them for years here.
Understand.
So yeah, so we are going to try to find out what the cause of that was. But yeah, I mean it's something we've dealt with in Manchester for years on our fields and everywhere else. Unfortunately when we get large amounts of rain here, our soils and things like that does not drain the water yet. Yeah.
That should have been addressed years ago with the engineers. Okay, as long as they're going to fix the.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely going to fix it.
Okay.
Oh, actually, here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do have an updated email. So they were actually out here yesterday, and they actually cut the floor yesterday.
Okay.
So they're actually working on it now and trying to level it back out. So hopefully we'll have it open soon.
Great.
This says by the end of the month it'll be available.
Sweet. That's great.
Okay.
Now, another question, scoreboard. I know this has been an ongoing thing since my daughter was a freshman. She's now a senior. I know I think there was some equipment issues apparently. The machine that digs a hole was a problem. Do we have an ETA on that?
Which scoreboards are we talking about? Is this
First
field hockey?
Yeah, I guess a small
Keith here?
scoreboard.
No, he's not here, but I've been asking about this.
I did speak to him. I believe I emailed you.
You did.
And he did call me back.
Yes.
Apparently, it's a hydraulic issue with this truck that digs holes, but
It's my understanding that what ended up happening is exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
And then they did call that company again to see when they can get out as soon as they possibly can.
Okay.
I believe they were saying that there is a possibility that they could come out and try to work on it by the end of the month, but it still requires like a lot of process, because once they start drilling, then we have to have our guy come in and do some of the wiring. So I'm hoping that we can get it done before it gets very cold out, but I was hoping to try to get it done before the season ends.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't believe that to be.
No, I just feel bad for the kids, it's hard
I
for
do
the
as
parents,
well.
it's hard for the spectators to see.
Mhm.
You have a little scoreboard this big, it's in the sun. Okay. At least if the kids next year can enjoy it, that would be great.
Yeah, and we've certainly been on top of it. The problem is that there's not a lot of people that come out and do this kind of work. And they already committed to this gentleman, and he started to do the job. So at this point, they're trying to stay through with him.
And I understand that.
We did ask him, when are we on the actual list of when he would be coming out? But I think weather sometimes plays a factor into it.
Yeah.
But we are constantly communicating with him and trying to get him out as soon as
Yeah,
possible.
I know Mr. said he had a list, and he was going through the list. My thing is, I understand your truck is down,
Yeah.
but you can, there's other options out there. It's just, to me, it's just kind of sad. I'm in the industry, I understand that, but now, with that being said, parking for field hockey is on the grass. Now, I'm being told by the groundskeepers that is not township property, that is not school property. That's across from the field. Now, there's a sign that it is for field hockey parking. This summer, the grass was super high. I did reach out to grounds, and they said they were busy, and they would look at it, possibly reach out to the township. I did not reach out to Ali Dacus, which I could if I really want. I just didn't want to do that. But I don't understand, if that's not school property, why is there a sign saying parking for field hockey? And if that's the case, why does the school dump grass on that property further down in the woodline? So I believe that's owned by K. Albanian, but I could be wrong. That could be township property. I don't know. I just don't understand why Grounds is able to dump the grass, but yet they can't mow. And it's not, we're not talking little grass. We're talking pretty high. Yeah, it's sad when you have those schools coming from around all through the state, and they go there and it kind of looks, I wish there'd be a little bit more signage also. But, again, it's just something to address for maybe next year.
I'm gonna speak to the buildings and grounds supervisor and ask him some of these questions and have him reach out to you.
That's fine.
I think I have your name and your number.
Yeah.
I will make sure
And
that.
I did email, the grass was getting, and that's the other question I had for him too, is that they'll cut the field for the girls to play, but the spectator grass is crazy high. And it's like, you're mowing. Can you continue? I get it. I understand that, it's not a lot of time today, maybe shorthanded, whatever. It's just, again, it's just pride in the work, and it's just to the other schools looking at coming to our school going, really? So, all right, that would be great. That's all I have. Thank you very much for your time.
We'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stavato. Is there anybody else that would like to come to the microphone? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn our meeting. Can I get a second? All in favor? Aye. Have a good night, everybody. Our next meeting's on Tuesday.